Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about the play Crooked Parts by Azure D. Osborne-Lee, which I'm reading out of the Methuen Drama Book of Trans Plays. So this is a play that I think really capitalizes on the visuality of both trans and Black bodies, historically policed bodies, in order to make sense of this sort of dual experience of oppression and of social policing. So I'd say protagonist of the play, although it's reasonably well divided, is the play is set in two different time periods, 1995 and 2013. In 1995, we have Winifred, or Winnie Clark, and in 2013, we have Freddie Clark. So, as Winnie grows up, she realizes that she's actually Freddie. So he becomes Freddie. Family, especially Angela, Freddie's mother, has a lot of difficulty with this. His brother Stephen and his father Michael on occasion slip up, but they are apparently genuinely trying to make the effort to respect who Freddie is. So we've got that element in the 2013 scenes. In the 1995 scenes, these tend to revolve around Winnie's hairstyles, because a big part of the bonding between Winnie and Angela is their girls' nights. On Sunday nights, I think it is, when Angela does Winnie's hair. Angela tends to do Winnie's hair in these very traditional African-American styles, braids, beads, things like this. And Winnie, when she goes to a new school, she finds herself being made fun of by the other students, and so she wants to shift away from that toward more normal hairstyles, by which we mean white-inspired hairstyles, straightening her hair, things like this. And partially this is about following the trends of African-American celebrities like Whitney Houston, let me see if I can remember it. There's one specific person that she wants to look like. It might be Whitney Houston. I don't know. I'm spending a lot of time trying to find this, and it's probably not super, super important. Because I think you get my general point here. The reason that this is significant is because hair is a really important part of the African American experience in many cases. Whitney Houston. Is that who I said? I can't even remember. I lost track of it. Sorry. Anyway, So Winnie wants her hair to look like Whitney Houston's. So hair is a really, really important and contested element of African American culture, as well as like Afro-Canadian culture and some other African diasporic cultures. Because within white-dominated societies, there is a particular perception of what hair should look like. And that is shaped by European experiences of hair. And so traditional African hairstyles are not generally regarded as beautiful or even normal. And this is, of course, a way of undercutting, demonizing, delegitimizing African American culture and African Americans' physical bodies. And so there's a long history of this. And so the question of hair is really, really important in terms of the physicality of African American bodies, the ways in which African Americans experience themselves within the social framework of white America. Traditionally, African American hairstyles have been judged unprofessional for workplaces. For some reason that I don't fully understand, a lot of people feel that it's okay to just come up and touch African American people's hair, particularly African American women's hair. And so hair is really bound up with African American identity in these complex ways. And that is linked to the physicality and the visuality of trans bodies when we get to the 2013 scenes with Freddie, right? Because trans people are another group who experience tremendous amounts of policing of their physical bodies. And actually, the policing is literalized in the case of Stephen, Freddie's brother, because Stephen has gone to prison and stuff like this. We know that African Americans are disproportionately likely to be arrested, even for crimes that are committed at the same rate as their white peers, like drug possession or use. They're more likely to be sentenced severely for the same crimes, etc., etc. We know the justice system is disproportionately stacked against African Americans. We also know that African Americans are more likely to be pulled over while driving. They're more likely to be subject to policies like stop and frisk in jurisdictions where those have existed than are their white counterparts. And so again, this idea of the policing of particular bodies is really significant, and it's connected to the racial experience in this case. But the trans experience is also one of having the body policed, because passing becomes a significant component of trans life, whether that is desirable or not. When trans people are regarded as not sufficiently feminine or masculine for their gender identity, this often leads to social repercussions. It is, in many public spaces, much safer to pass, much safer to be taken as the gender that you are. That is, if you're a trans woman, to be taken as a woman. If you're a trans man, to be taken as a man. This is much, much safer in many public spaces than to present in such a way that your gender is open to questioning. And this is, I'm not saying this is a good thing, I'm saying this is unfortunately how it is. people whose gender presentation is open to question are much more likely to experience violence or discrimination than are people who pass. And so these elements of visuality and being judged based on your physical body are linked in the play. And we see this a couple of times with Freddie. Early in the play, Freddie has returned home. It's late at night. He goes upstairs. He's changing out of his clothes. He's left Stephen downstairs. Stephen's getting a snack. It says here, he sighs. That's Freddie. Sighs. And back to the door begins to undress. He takes off his pants and shirt. Next, he peels off a compression garment. He sighs with relief as he tosses his binder onto a nearby chair. So that, I assume, is for breast compression, to give the appearance of being flat, of having a more masculine chest. Just then there's a knock on the door. Freddie says, "Just a second." He looks around, then hastily pulls on his discarded t-shirt. He jumps into bed, yanking the covers up past his chest. So, even with Stephen, there is this need to hide the physical body and the evidence of a body that is not cisgendered. We get this in a couple of ways later on as well. There's a point where Freddie asks Michael, his father, his and Stephen's father, to teach him to shave because he's getting razor burn. He doesn't know how to do it properly. And there's this sort of weird moment where Michael sort of doesn't know how to respond to that. And then later, there's dream sequence or a vision sequence, something like that. Where Freddie and Winifred confront each other. Freddie and Winnie confront each other. And they bond over their physicality, these sort of visual signs of their difference. This is Act 1, Scene 21. The first thing that Winnie says, Freddie, is that the best mustache you can grow? And then the stage directions say, Freddie covers his upper lip in embarrassment, then recovering, lets his hand fall away from his face. He says, "For now, it's getting better, though." So the first thing we have drawn attention to is physicality. Again, hair, specifically, Freddie's facial hair. And then slightly later, Freddie asks Winnie, "What happened to your hair?" Stage directions say Winifred touches her hair, embarrassed, and says fire. So it is this. There's this linkage of experience here, right? And I think that's really significant in terms of understanding not just the African American experience or the trans experience, but also specifically the intersection of these two experiences. Finding this common ground in these two identities, I think, is really significant. It helps to illustrate crossover elements of oppression between different groups that have been historically disenfranchised in the U.S.